I'm sure that by now we can see that the Bible has a story to tell. The Bible has a story to tell, a story of its own. Each and every single one of us, we have a story to tell. Same thing with the Bible. When we allow the Bible to speak, when we allow the Bible to tell its story, instead of imposing the story we imagine should be imposed onto it, instead of forcing narrative from out of the Bible, instead of imagining narrative from within the Bible, when we allow the Bible to speak, we get landscape. We get landscape. And I love presenting Bible. I love presenting Bible. Because when you present Bible, there's always the argument of Christian theory. There's always the argument of personal religious theory. And then you present Bible. And it's always a beautiful reaction. Because when you present Bible, you will always hear something you have never opined. You will always hear something that will connect something to something else to allow Bible to shine, and that's what I'm about. That's what I'm about. I am about Bible. And when it comes to the Bible's narrative is what it is. Now we can either choose to accept that or not. Bible doesn't care, and neither should we. Because as we have our opinion, and let that be what it will be, Bible also has its fact. There is fact within the book, within the lines of those pages. There is no fact in what we believe. And I'm not just talking about we as in you, I'm talking about we as in me. I'm in this with you. I'm in this with you. And my continual study of the mind within the Bible is for the purpose of understanding the mind within myself. And in order to do that, I have to understand that I need to step away from myself in order to be educated. Bible will only educate those that are teachable. Bible will only educate those that are teachable, and the experience that the Bible is calling for from Genesis 1 to Genesis 2 is to help develop a teachable spirit within the human being, because it is only this teachable spirit that the mind therein can do something with and can do something for. And as we've been going along through Genesis 1 and 2, male and female image of God, we've been really just hammering that in for this very point of showing contrast between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 and the narrative therein, the scope of that narrative, not to deviate from what it is, but to highlight what is not being said or what is not being written. Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 go together perfectly. Genesis 2 is actually a regeneration from what Genesis 1 is. See, Genesis chapter 1 is a workmanship of the development of the religious world. That's all Genesis 1 is. It is impersonal. Genesis 2, on the other hand, is personal. Genesis 2 is not about the workmanship of the religious world. Genesis 2 is about the regeneration of the devotional conversation from out of the religious world. We've gone through the illustrations, and I don't have to go back to them because it's very plain. All of this is plain. This is plain Bible that we are getting from Bible. And when we're hearing of Genesis 1, when we're hearing of Genesis 2, when we're stepping into their landscape, we are seeing exodus and transformation. Transformation, not of a literal person, not of a literal entity, but of mind, from out of the mind of the workmanship concerning the religious world. Genesis chapter 2 is rehearsing the familiar story of the Exodus that we are all knowing about. Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, they are rehearsing the story of the Exodus that we are all knowing about. We know about the Exodus. Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 are a repeating, continual ecclesiastical history of that one moment in the book of Exodus. So where in the Bible, and that's what I want to spend time on, where in the Bible can we see that same Exodus from the book of Exodus? Where in the Bible can we see that same Exodus of Adam from out of male and female, honoring the code of the image of God? Where else in the Bible can we see this? Book of the Revelation. Book of the Revelation, chapter 12. Book of the Revelation, chapter 12, verses 3 and 4. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. His tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Where are we in history? So this vision, this isn't literal. This has to be understood historically. There's a place and time for where this is relevant. There is a place and time for where everything within every chapter within the book of the Revelation is relevant. And there is an order, although there is seemingly no order within the book of the Revelation, there is an order, there is a patterned order that one can find concerning time within the book of the Revelation. Where are we when we enter into chapter 12 of the book of the Revelation? Where are we is the question. Reading the first verse of Revelation chapter 12. Revelation 12 and verse 1 reads, There appeared a wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. This is where we are in the book of the Revelation chapter 12 when we enter into it. Author of this book wants us in this time period. Where is this time period? What is this time period? I've gone through, and I'm not going to break this down here, in previous episodes deciphering the definition of a woman to the Bible's mind, and especially in vision. Remember, this is vision. This isn't a literal woman that we are actually seeing. This woman signifies something specific. And to the Bible's mind, and especially when it comes to vision in Revelation, woman equals church. Woman equals church. I've reviewed that plenty of times. I won't review that here. Woman clothed with sun. What does that mean? Woman clothed with sun. What does that mean? We can take that meaning from our previous meeting of what that means when it comes to the sun. Looking in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, 13 and 14. Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, 13 and 14. And I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. This woman, this church, is clothed with the sun, or is clothed with the vexation given to the sons of man. This woman is clothed with the vexation and the vanity that is given to the sons of man. Again, I've reviewed this in previous episodes. I won't do that here. What that means is that we're looking at a time period where we're seeing a church clothed with the labor of the sun, a church clothed with the labor of the sun, and having a crown of 12 stars upon her head. Genesis 42, 31 and 32. Genesis 42, 31 and 32. And we said unto him, We are true men. We are no spies, they said, to convince the person that they did not know was their brother. We be 12 brethren, sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. When we see these 12, this crown of 12, this is a crown of 12 brethren. This is a crown of 12 brethren. So we have a church clothed with the labor of the sun, wearing a crown of 12 brethren.
A Fallen Record, The Christian Transgression, is a book bringing history and the Bible together. We all want to know how the Christian religion began. But does the Bible show error occurring in the early church? This book looks at the origin of the Christian movement, and in a way where philosophical context is shown from the Bible. Learn Christian history from the narrative given by the Bible, and learn how the Bible shows the Christian religion taking another path. In A Fallen Record, The Christian Transgression.
So we have to fit this into the age. We have to fit this into the age. And jumping to the book of Acts, chapter 6, 1 and 2, Acts 6, 1 and 2, in those days when the number of the disciples were multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians, the Hellenistic Jews, against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglecting the daily ministration. Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them and said, It is not reason that we should leave the word of God and serve tables. So we can say crown of 12 tribes of Israel. Wouldn't be that on point. This is more along the lines of a crown of 12, as in 12 disciples. So we are in an age where a church clothed with the labors of the sun, standing upon the moon. In the book of Psalms, we are told that the moon is as a faithful witness. In the Revelation, we have a faithful witness talking to the churches. So we have a church standing upon the ground of a faithful witness, wearing the labor of the sun, wearing a crown of 12 brethren or 12 disciples. So in summary, we are in an age where the Christian church is existing. This image of a woman and the sun and the moon and the crown, we can just simplify that by Christian church. Now, in this age that we have entered into the Christian church, something happens. Something happens because this church, this woman, is swept away by the tail of a great red dragon. Now, in the book of Isaiah, we are told that a tail equals a false prophet. The tail equals a false prophet. This is what we are told in the book of Isaiah. So we can automatically understand that this tail doing the sweeping is the tail of a false prophet, a false message, or a false understanding. Who is this dragon in this age? Who is this dragon in this age? Jumping to Daniel 7, 19 and 20. Daniel 7, 19 and 20. Daniel 7, 19 and 20. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass. It devoured, brake in pieces, stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, these same 10 horns in this fourth beast's head are the same 10 horns that are in this dragon's head. Keeping in mind that in the book of Ezekiel, this great dragon is referred to as Pharaoh. This great dragon in the book of Ezekiel is referred to as Pharaoh, king of Egypt. So when we are seeing this great dragon character, we have to be able to associate it with what the Bible associates it to. Bible associates that great red dragon with Pharaoh from the book of Egypt. Now, what is Pharaoh? Pharaoh is a religious state institution. Pharaoh is a state religious institution, an institution that is run universally by church and state. Book of Daniel, these same 10 horns, and it is structurally seen that the book of Daniel, this fourth beast figure, lines up alongside perfectly, especially in the 13th chapter of the book of the Revelation, not simply with this dragon, but with that leopard beast. In this context of chapter 12 of the book of the Revelation, this fourth beast, because this fourth beast is understood to have two phases. The phase of it having these 10 horns and such, and then the phase of it having one little horn. Two phases. When we see these 10 horns in the book of the Revelation chapter 12, and the same associated with this fourth beast in the book of Daniel, we can understand what phase of this fourth beast we are in. Is it in the first, or is it in the second of the little horn? It is not in the second of the little horn. It is in the first. And the first phase of that fourth beast, because that fourth beast represents Rome, structurally, that first phase of this fourth beast is pagan Rome. The next, concerning that little horn, is papal Rome. When entered into the 12th chapter of the book of the Revelation, we are entered into an age where the Christian church is existing alongside Roman paganism. That great dragon represents a state religious entity. Just as that great dragon in the book of Ezekiel called Pharaoh king of Egypt, and Pharaoh representing a state religious entity, the transference is the same, yet the age has to be placed. In the 12th chapter of the book of the Revelation, we have the Christian church existing alongside the philosophy of Roman paganism. What happens? Roman paganism sweeps a great number of minds or of ministers from its place down. The philosophy of Roman paganism sweeps that church with its bright sun labor, standing upon a faithful witness, wearing a crown of 12 known figures, supposedly known figures, is swept away by a false message from within the state religious entity at that time. This is the age we are entered into. This sweeping away, this sweeping away is actually what gave birth or gave rise to papal Rome. And the author of the book of Thessalonians, the second book, lets us know this. 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 through 7. 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 through 7. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now, who does that sound like? That sounds a lot like the person that said, "Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice and let you go?" That's a Pharaoh figure. An individual sitting as in the seat of God, as if he is God, because he is Horus incarnated. Paul is putting that context into a modern sense. And today we see the modern sense. It's called Pope. Popery. Papal Rome is continuing down to verse 7. Verse 7 of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. This is figurative language. The one that is let, the one that is to be taken out of the way, is an institution. Until that institution gets taken away, the mystery of iniquity cannot be revealed. Pagan Rome had to be taken out of the way, and it did, 508 AD, and replaced 538 AD with papal Rome. This is the mystery of iniquity. And what is the mystery of iniquity? What is the mystery of iniquity? Except the combination of male and female. The mystery of iniquity that this author in the book of 2 Thessalonians is foreshadowing is the combination of male and female, or male, Jew, Jewish religion, female, Greek, or Gentile religion. Remember, male and female created he them. There's no individuality at the end of this story in the first chapter of the book of Genesis. They are a them. They are a them. They are a them. Male and female become one to subdue and to dominate the earth. Male and female became one, Jew and Gentile, or should I say, Jew, Christian, and Gentile Roman came together, their religion, and created one sole entity called Papal Rome.
Our faith is alive. Our belief is a living structure. But what does it mean to have a working faith? What does it mean to have a belief assisting our thoughts and feelings? A Faith That Works is a book informing its reader on how to cultivate an active faith. We usually have to make our faith work. We usually need to do something in order for us to feel like our faith is alive. Is this the right way to handle our devotional experience? Find correct guidance and instruction on how to carry the body of your faith in A Faith That Works.
Now, this whole time I've been saying that the rehearsal of the Exodus is found within Genesis chapter 1 and 2. The rehearsal of the Exodus is found within Genesis chapter 1 and 2. After male and female came together, after Jew and Gentile, after Christian, which is a branch of Jew or supposedly, came together with Gentile or Rome, what happened? Papacy was born. Now from 538 to 1798 AD, what do we historically call that period? That's called the Dark Ages. This is all in the Bible. Why is 538 AD, the creation of Papal Rome, all the way to 1798, the deadly wounding of that institution? Why is that important? What happened between 538 AD and 1798 AD? If what I'm saying is true, we should see an Israel coming up and out. If what I'm saying is true, we should see an Adam coming up and out and finding territory within Eden as Israel found territory within Canaan. Now, during this period of 538 to 1798, an exodus took place. While the Catholic Church, while Papal Rome was slaughtering individuals for not honoring its religion, something was happening. Somebody posted some theses to a wall. Movements were started. An exodus took place. And the land that was cultivated became known as Protestantism. Same history. Repeating history. Genesis 1 and 2 is the Exodus. Genesis 1 and 2 is 538 to 1798. Adam is Israel. Adam is Protestantism. It is the same story. Bible and the author writing the book of Genesis chapter 1 is letting the reader, the careful and the thoughtful and the mindful reader, into how things work within the religious world. They're letting the reader, the mindful, the careful, and the thoughtful reader understand how things work within the religious world. There is a system and a pattern. Male and female must come together to subdue and to dominate not simply the natural world, but also the religious world as a whole. When they do this, there will always be an exodus. And from that exodus, there will always be a planting into a new location. Bible is letting us know the scheme within the religious world. Now, while letting us know the scheme within the religious world that can be proven, Bible is also letting us know from Genesis chapter 2 that it is not so much a community type thing, although that is a historical rehearsal within that narrative. It is also personal and individual. It is also personal and individual. As we saw from the book of Job, Job brought back to life by that Spirit. Job 33, I'm referencing, which is not a literal birthing or a literal anything. Bible breaks the reception of spirit down to the reception of words. So Job saying life was breathed into me, spirit was breathed into me. Proverbs letting us know that what is actually breathed in is an understanding. Seeing Adam regenerated from the dust, as we saw in our previous meeting, it is also personal. So while a historical ecclesiastical history is rehearsed from Genesis 1 to Genesis 2, what is also rehearsed is an individual personal experience that the mind of the conversation needs to have from out of the entity, the regime of Genesis chapter 1. When we can manage this, when we can see these things, this record in Genesis 2, as it's telling us how we need to handle our conversation and its experience, well, then that's how things change. That's how the conversation grows. That's how we become more mindful, not simply of what we are going through philosophically or mentally, but also as a human being. And it is that acknowledging that further advances the transformation that the Bible's mind is looking for concerning us.